Philippine Airlines filed for bankruptcy will shrink significantly. That's not good news. I traveled with them 2019, just before the pandemic struck back in September 2019. So that was like 2 years ago. Non-stop from New York, JFK to Manila. I think it was about 16 hours, 40 minutes. So that was the first time I ever did that. Normally, I either go through Tokyo, Japan. Let's see, where else I went through? Hong Kong. Went through Hong Kong a few times. Talking about maybe 22 hours by the time you reach the Philippines, Manila. So that was like a big break. Anyway, so around the start of the pandemic, we saw some airlines file for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, including Avianca and LATAM. A few days ago, we learned that Philippine Airlines has also filed for bankruptcy, and we now have details on how the carrier's long-haul fleet is expected to shrink. Philippine Airlines filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection, has announced the decision to undergo a financial restructuring under the U.S. Chapter 11 process. That's interesting because this is a foreign airline and they filed bankruptcy here in the United States, which is not that far from me. The court, the bankruptcy court that is, a petition was filed in New York District Court last Friday. There had been rumors of this being on the horizon for months, so it's interesting to see it finally happens, especially 18 months into the pandemic. For those not familiar, Chapter 11 is a globally recognized legal process that the airline hopes will allow it to get fresh capital, lower debt, and a better financial foundation. The airline has reached an agreement with shareholders, right? Creditors, leases, suppliers, which should allow the company to be more sustainable in the future. With this restructuring, PAL, that's Philippine Airlines, is hoping to reduce its fleet by up to 25% and cut $2 billion in existing debt. Furthermore, the airline hopes to raise $505 million in equity and debt financing from existing shareholders and an additional $150 million from new investors. The airline intends to make the Chapter 11 reorganization process quick and hopes to emerge before the end of 2021, which is soon. Only time will tell if that actually happens. Look at the seats here. Business class. They don't have first class. Business class and economy class. Philippine Airlines will retire 777s and A350s. As part of its reorganization plan, Philippine Airlines is planning on reducing the size of its fleet by roughly 21 aircraft, leaving the airline with 70 aircraft. Most significantly, Philippine Airlines intends to get rid of 4 of 6 Airbus A350-900s, which are an average of under 3 years old. Wow, that's not that old. 3 years. 4 of 10 Boeing 777s 300ERs, which are an average of just over 7 years old, an undisclosed number of Airbus A330s, 300s. The airline has 15 of these in fleet, which are an average of just over 7 years old. A few thoughts. Based on those wide-body aircraft plans, the airline sure will have a varied wide-body fleet with two A350s, six 777s, and some number of A330s. I'm guessing this comes down to agreements the airline was able to reach with leasing companies. Philippine Airlines flew A350s to London, New York, and Toronto. So odds are that the airline will have cut service to one or all of these destinations. And these routes have allegedly been losing money, with flights to the U.S. West Coast being more profitable. I don't know about that. When I uh, when I flew them 2 years ago, exactly 2 years ago in September, yeah, the seats were full. People sitting next to me. It'd be nice if you fly in one of those flights, and it's non-stop, by the way. No, non-stop, which is great. If it were like an empty seat next to me, then sure, you have like some extra room. I have to say this. Back in the 90s, so we going back maybe like 30 years ago. I used to work at the airport, JFK, and back then you didn't have these type of flights. I remember flights would come in from the Philippines, but they would go to like Alaska. Um, they all stop to refuel. There used to be, let's see, there used to be an airline called Northwest, like Northwest Orient, the brown airplane. I think they either they went out of business, or I believe they merged with another carrier. But Northwest used to come in, and they used to bring in Filipinos, and I think Korean Airline too. But the thing is, in those days, you go back 30 years, there was no there was no nonstop. Even flights coming in from Egypt, for example, like Egypt Air. Egypt Air used to stop in Heathrow Airport in England, London. So it's really amazing what technology has done. And who would think you could sit in an airplane and fly to the Philippines non-stop from New York? It's a long flight, but it really beats having to, get out in Hong Kong, change airplanes, and like Japan, for example. You come off the airplane in Tokyo, and the first thing you have to do is go through security. That security where you have to go through the machines. And I remember one sign in Japan, and the sign says, "Sorry, but we're doing this for your safety." And I'm like, "What the hell?" You know, I just come off a plane nonstop from New York, where I went through security to get on this plane. you know, I went through security to get on that plane. We stopped no place, nowhere, or anything like that. And it's not like I'm going to stay in Japan. I'm transferring to another airline, and I have to go through security, put my stuff. I mean, that is so. to me that is so damn ridiculous. Uh, South Korea does the same thing too. You go to South Korea, Singapore does the same thing too. You transfer and it's like you're tired and you're sleepy and you have to stand in a line, put your stuff, take your stuff out, put it on, and it's like, sorry, we're doing this for your safety. What safety? I mean, what the hell? I'm not. It's not like you're going on an airplane where you going to board the gate. It's you coming into the country to the airport, and they're checking your stuff to see, and you're transferring. Yeah, you're transferring. Anyway, so I think the planes used to stop in was it Fairbanks, Alaska, one of those places in Alaska, and they would refuel and then they would come down to New York. By the time you did one of those flights, it's like maybe 22 hours, 24 hours. That's how long it took. Sometimes more than a day. Those were the days. Yeah, we're looking here. This is the economy class section. So what does this mean for the future of Philippine Airlines? As it's described, Philippine Airlines hopes to continue to serve customers and continue its mission as a full-service airline and flag carrier of the Philippines. It's called the Heart of the Filipino, Philippine Airlines. For the time being, it should be business as usual for power customers and employees. So Chapter 11 is not like your regular bankruptcy where, some people file bankruptcy. They don't have any more money. That's it. They can't pay, and it's like I think it's gonna take like what 7 or 10 years. You're probably not gonna get any credit. Well, Chapter 11 allows you to reorganize your business, so you can reorganize, you can pay off debts, stuff like that. So ticket credits will continue to be valid, right? The Mabuhay Miles loyalty program will continue to allow passengers to earn and redeem miles, just as has been the case at other airlines that have filed for Chapter 11. Nothing substantial should change on the front end for now. Prior to the pandemic, airlines wanted to Philippine Airlines wanted to transform into a five-star airline. I had the chance to fly Philippine Airlines' new flagship Airbus A350 in early 2020. The A350, I think that's the one I flew, the non-stop, and had a pretty good experience. But the airline still has a way to go. Well, I have to say that I had no complaints about the flight, the food, except I think, let me see now. The flight was fine, but the food, I think I ate something, maybe like some shrimps or something, and right away, my stomach, luckily, I brought some stuff with me. Imagine, imagine flying a distance like that and having your stomach, but it's not the fault of the airline. It has to do with the catering company because the airlines don't make the food; they cater. So I can't hold it against them, and I know that's fact because I used to work in the airline, and I used to see all the process with the catering trucks, that will come there. So they probably left that stuff out, and maybe bacteria began to grow. And then all of a sudden, I ate this stuff, and wow, my stomach was upset. But I brought some stuff with me, and once I took it, it made a world of a difference. Okay, so the truth is that Powell was struggling financially even pre-pandemic and has been losing money for years. The airline was inefficient, lacked partnerships, didn't have a very competitive route network for serving connecting traffic beyond the Philippines, and the process of connecting at Manila Airport was possibly the worst in the world. I'm gonna I'm gonna do another video on this. The process of connecting. I read that before. So I think it's worth to listen to what this writer has to say. So while the coronavirus pandemic no doubt made the carriers issues worse, the reality is that some changes needed to happen even pre-pandemic. Unfortunately, I am not sure these changes will solve much, at least if the airline hopes to become more premium and focus on long haul traffic. Philippine Airlines' wide body fleet will be smaller than in the past, so the airline will have to reduce its long haul route network. Bottom line, Philippine Airline has filed for bankruptcy in U.S. courts. With this, the airline will be able to restructure, including reducing the size of its fleet, reducing debt, and getting new funding. This has been in the works for months, so this doesn't come as much of a surprise, especially since Powell was losing a lot of money even pre-pandemic. I suspect the airline will emerge from bankruptcy just fine, and passengers shouldn't be impacted too much in the near future. It's sad to see that the airline plans to get rid of four of its six A350s, since that plane made Powell more competitive. I would say that because that plane saved me a lot of time, non-stop. The only thing is that when you fly out of New York, they give you a time, but that's not the time you're leaving, because by the time you ready, you sitting, you waiting there. The plane comes in late in the evening, in the night, and then they have to clean the whole plane. The people have to get on board, clean, and then they have to stock it up with food and water and so forth. So clean out the toilet system, remove all that stuff. So all that takes long. I think by the time we left, it must have been like some minutes to 3 in the morning, when the flight should have been like maybe 12:30, 1 o'clock. Yeah, but amazingly, we still arrived within the time. I think maybe half hour later or so forth. Okay, so there is some comments here. Let's see. This person said, I think it's mostly COVID restrictions that the Philippines are applying even to U.S. citizens. The fact is that it's a huge pain to go to the Philippines given their policies. And me and my Filipino wife will not even try for quite some time. I assume many others are thinking the same. This must drastically reduce PAL's revenue, and I'm sure the Philippine government isn't propping up the airline like the U.S. government is doing. Yeah, well, I think this person has a point, because the 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 current government of the Philippines, they have cut out a lot of the tourism. I mean, like, I was able to go there in September 2 years ago. right? So while I'm there, I'm able to go places, I'm able to spend money, I'm able to go to a restaurant, and this is just one person, me, going around. I go with my friends, we go out, we eat. So multiply that by thousands of people, you create a lot of jobs, right? I stayed in more than one hotel because I went to like a few different places in the Philippines, in, including Porto Galera. So just one person, you create an industry there. You a lot of people are employed. Now with the whole idea is that the Philippine government cut out a lot of stuff. You can't go there. COVID is still high. You know, lots of people lost their jobs. And when I was there, I went to like I saw some of the casinos, like three different casinos near SM Mall of Asia. Beautiful places. There was like a one brand new one they built. Beautiful. Everything is air conditioned. It's nice. All these people lost their jobs, and it's long, and it's the the current president in this Philippines. It's like I don't know. It's like I don't know whether he's too old or he lost his mind or what have you. But people are going hungry there. People people have no people have no jobs. You know, one of my friends that I met, I send some money like every 2 months, and I said, you know what? Some of the people you have on your list, just pick by random, and give some money to some of these people. And one of the persons she notified and said, I'm gonna send you some money. I'm gonna send it by I think they have LB what's that? LBC or something like that. Anyway, this man has three kids, and he was actually searching in the garbage looking for food. He's like a tricycle driver in one of the provinces, so they're not making much money. Tricycles don't really charge that much, and with all the lockdowns, people not try. So here's this man searching in the garbage for food, and by chance, she happened to pick him and said, I'm gonna send you some money that my friend sent." You see, so this is what's going on in there, and there are other stories I'm not gonna get into where, to me, it was just so revealing that wow, you know, because the money I send is not gonna make much of a difference to me here where I'm living, you know. Well, it's not gonna make much difference, but over there, it will make a big difference. So it's really eye opening, and it's like the people in the government there. It's like, what the hell is going on? They don't really realize that people are hungry, and every now and again they give out some food staples or so forth. You know, it's really crazy. They need to open back up tourism, and Paul, they can't depend only in Filipinos or Balikbayan to come back like they say. You know, if you are Filipino or what have you, or even if you give up your citizenship, or let's say you become a naturalized citizen here in the U.S., you could still go back to the Philippines on vacation and so forth. Yeah, but that's not good enough because many of these people going back, they have family. They're gonna stay by. Somebody like me, I don't have family, so I'm gonna stay in a hotel. And that's what you need. You need revenue, like for the hotels, so you can employ people, and you employ a lot of people. So when you're in the hotel, you're gonna be eating there and so forth, you know, or you be going to restaurants nearby, and you rev up the economy that way. And for some reason, they've been doing it the wrong way because they've been on lockdown, I think, since March of 2020. And, so Philippine Airlines, I can understand why they're filing bankruptcy too. I mean, even though this article said, well, they had problems with money from before pre-pandemic, but still, the point is, they've been damaged badly by this lockdown and not allowing foreign. I don't understand the whole idea. Not allowing foreigners to come in the country. Uh, about a month ago, one of my friends who happens to be Thai lives in here in the United States. She contacted me and told me, hey, one of her friends is coming to the United States from Thailand, because see, Thailand is not one of those banned countries like I think China is, Iran is, I think maybe Brazil, India is, even like England, and I think those countries in the Shenzhen area in Europe, they still banned from coming here. It's crazy, right? And those are the people who come here and spend money, like go to Fifth Avenue, shop, and so forth. So the lady from Thailand came, and I was able to meet her, and the first thing she wanted was to get a vaccine, because in Thailand she has a hard time getting a vaccine. I believe about only 6% of the population in Thailand got a vaccine. So I took her, and she was able to get the Pfizer vaccine, and now she's out in San Francisco, and she got like the second vaccine. And what's interesting is they were giving out this $100 thing. So I told her, look, I might as well put it so you can get that $100. But she gave it to me anyway. They gave me like a debit card, because she said, well, you did so much for me, because in that short time she was here, I took her around, I paid in the subway, took her different places that if she tried to do it by herself, she wasn't going to be able to do it, because this was the first time she was in the United States. She came here. So now she's out in San Francisco. So it's really amazing. So we allow certain uh, people to come in here, tourists, and the Philippines, like this person said here, commented, he and his wife are not even gonna bother going. It's like, wow, you can't even go to the Philippines. You're a foreigner, you can't even go there. So that means you're not gonna be eating in a restaurant, no money there, right? You're not gonna be staying in a hotel, no revenue there for them for the hotel. That means less people employed in the hotel. You're not gonna be taking transportation like taxis or grab taxis. No money there. So what the hell's going on? Your economy is being starved, and I don't know if it's gonna collapse soon. But you how much of that can you take? You know, how much of that? And then I hear that the current president, he wants to run for what is it, for vice president? Who does that? That's like Barack Obama trying to run to be vice president of the United States. Come on, that's ridiculous. Yeah, you don't do that when you have a tough job like that. However, from what I heard, his daughter wants to run for the president of the Philippines. So I think what it is that the Philippines has a different setup, not like the U.S. You could run on your own as for vice president. You don't have to run with somebody else, so you can get in on your own. So I think what he's probably trying to do is, if his daughter runs and she becomes president, and he runs and he becomes vice president, knowing him and the way he is and the loudmouth he has, he probably tell his daughter, even though she will be president, to step aside, and she may be president in name, but then he be president He be the de facto president. You know, he would say, "Look, I've been in this job for 6 years. I know this job." And tell his daughter, "Step aside." You know, so that's really sad that this is the kind of stuff that's going on in the Philippines. You know, and this is the kind of stuff Trump would try to pull in the United States if he can get away with it. You see, very very sad commentary. Anyway, I'm gonna make another video, so look for my other video concerning this guy was uh, transiting through Manila airport, and he said he he didn't have kind words at all. I'm trying to see his name here. His name is Ben Shap Ben Schlappick, and this was written September 6, 2021. All right. So look for the other article, transiting through Manila Airport. Have a good evening.